Welcome to this webinar produced by the Erasmus Plus project CompUp. This webinar is developed as part of a training on relational competences for people working with adult education. However, this information can be useful for anyone who wants to improve their abilities to communicate and fully understand the person you're talking to. In the next couple of minutes, I will go through Thomas Gordon's diagram on accurate empathy. First of all, what is accurate empathy? Accurate empathy is simply trying to get the best possible understanding of what another person is thinking, feeling, experiencing, and meaning. Doesn't sound too hard, right? Accurate empathy has its roots in clinical psychology. The diagram I will introduce today was first developed by Thomas Gordon, who was a prominent clinical psychologist, and together with the more famous Carl Rogers, he made a massive positive impact in promoting collaboration and listening instead of coercion and in relationships between parents and children, bosses and their employees, and last but not least, teachers and students. In this webinar, I will go through Thomas Gordon's web diagram on accurate empathy, so you will gain a better understanding of what it is and why it's needed. The diagram consists of 4 circles, A, B, C, and D, and 3 arrows, 1, 2, and 3. The 2 circles of the left, A and B, represents the person that is speaking, and the 2 circles to the right, C and D, represent the person that is listening. This diagram is helpful to understand what is happening when we communicate and how it can go wrong. Circle A represents what is happening in the speaker's mind and heart at the moment of communication, which is influenced by a lot of factors and is set against a lifetime of experiences. This circle is called meaning. Circle B is representing what the speaker is saying, the actual spoken words, including as well as facial expressions, vocal tone and volume, posture, and movements. This circle is called spoken words. Circle C represents what the listener actually hears. A first step is to comprehend the speaker's words right. This might seem trivial, but in fact harder than it seems. This circle is called heard words. Circle D represents the listener, the way the listener interprets the heard words. The listener tries to understand what the speaker actually means. Since we can't read someone's mind, this will always be a guess and a hypothesis. This circle is as well called meaning, and just as in circle A, the listener, circle D, interprets the meaning against a lifetime of experiences. That was the circles. Now we will go through the errors in the diagram. There are 3 places where communication can go wrong in this diagram, and these are represented by the 3 arrows. The first place the communication can go wrong is when the speaker does not convey their meaning through the spoken words. People don't always say what they mean. Any utterance contains only a small part of the meaning it might have for the speaker. The speaker might not be good at communicating the meaning, or might be speaking in a second or a third language. The spoken words can be shaped by fear, anxiety, nerves, etc. The spoken words are just a small part of the story, and the first place communication can go wrong. If the speaker does not actually say what they mean, then circle A will differ from circle B. An example of this is if a teacher asks students if they can give an answer to a question in front of the class. The student might know the answer, but is also nervous about talking in front of other people, and therefore choose to say, I don't know the answer. Then the student doesn't actually say what they mean, and the teacher will probably miss the student's actual meaning, which could be something like, I don't know the answer, I do know the answer, but I am not comfortable to say it out loud in front of so many people. The second place where communication can go wrong is if the listener does not hear the words as the speaker intended them. There are many factors that can influence if the listener actually hears what is being said. For example, inattention to the speaker, being distracted, not sharing the same language, hearing impairment, etc. If the words are not understood accurately, then circle C will differ from circle B, which is a common source of miscommunication. This happens all the time. We miss important parts of messages someone is trying to convey because we're maybe thinking of other things or not paying attention. One example could be the teacher in the previous example who asked the students for an answer to a question. Instead of hearing that the student answer, "I don't know the answer," the teacher might hear, "I know the answer," and push the student to present in front of the class and create a scenario where the student feels uncomfortable and not listened to. The third place the communication can go wrong is if the listener interprets what he or she heard differently from what the speaker actually meant. The listener always tries to decode what the speaker meant, and this is an abundant source of misunderstanding. The listener filters the words he or she heard through an inner dictionary of possible meanings that has been built up from previous experiences. By this time, circle D can be very different from circle A, but the listener might respond, though, to circle D is circle A. We do this all the time. Think that our understanding of a person is the same as theirs. But in fact, many times we are way off in our assumptions. The teacher in the previous example might hear the student say, "I don't know the answer," and interpret this as the student doesn't know a whole lot, or maybe even the student did not do the homework and is clearly not engaged in this course, when the student's meaning is simply that he or she does not feel comfortable to talk in front of the class. Practicing accurate empathy is about closing the loop between circle D and circle A without any misunderstandings. Furthermore, it is about making sure your understanding is accurate rather than just assuming that it is. However, just repeatedly asking the question, "Do I understand you right?" will drive anyone mad and is not a functional way to talk. The art is to integrate accurate empathy into a normal flow of conversation, and that takes some practicing.